The Godcast with Josh Fritz, where the scripture is honored, the lost are warned, the saints are fortified, false teachers are exposed, and the Lord Jesus Christ is glorified. Here's your host, Josh Fritz.
Welcome to this edition of the Godcast. This is Josh Fritz. This is episode 111. Episode 111, Builders Summit edition. This is the second podcast of the Builders Summit. I sat down with the Bible-thumping wingnut guy himself. So consider this a crossover episode, if you will, if you'd like. This episode was taken again in the Pocono Mountains at the Pocono Bible Mountain Conference. We were in the room that you see in the thumbnail of this video. He was the second person that I spoke to at the Builder Summit. The first was Pastor Chris Pandolfi. That is episode 110. You can look at that for your edification and enjoyment. You'll see me here go through unedited where I thought I would have to edit. He said let it go. So there's a couple of things that we talked about there on the podcast. And while he was in there, Michael Coughlin had walked into the room, and he was there witnessing the discussion. And then soon thereafter, I recorded the next episode with Michael Coughlin, of which will air probably sometime next week, if I can get the time squared away to edit that. And you'll have that for your edification and enjoyment. So with that, here is episode 111 coming right up. But first, if you like to subscribe to this YouTube channel that I'm sharing this video on now, or if you would like to follow me on Patreon where you can hear the audio of my podcast first, please consider supporting this ministry. You can go to patreon.com and look up the Godcast with Josh Fritz. You can share by giving a widow's mite, which is $5. I believe there's also a $10 tier if you would like to look at that also. Trying to get Patreon going. I'm not very good at it, but I figured start somewhere. If you also want to consider supporting the ministry, click at the links below on the Bible Thumping Wingnut page, of which the podcast airs. There are several links there. You can follow this on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, even Pandora. This podcast, different RSS feed, and definitely all the podcasts are there. If you consider supporting this ministry, again, please pray for the ministry that I can continue to have guests and talk about things. I'm very excited about these episodes because I got to sit down and actually talk with people, and I've been wanting to do that. So you can also find me on Venmo, too, if you want to support the ministry on Venmo. That link is in the Bible Thumping Wingnut post of this episode. The links are there below, so you can look at that as well. I appreciate every prayer that you've prayed for this ministry. Hopefully that it grows in such a way that it glorifies and honors Jesus Christ. But first and foremost, before you ever do that, please support your local church. Be a part of your local church. This Builder Summit was a blessing to me, and I hope that the conversation that you're hearing here will actually be a blessing to you. So, without further ado, as I finish recording this intro, I'm going to play this episode. So, thank you guys for listening. Mash the bell, do all that you have to do to make this possible. I would appreciate that. And hopefully as I get this going here, I'm going to play it right now. Here you go. Welcome to the Godcast with Josh Fritz. We are on location in the Pocono Mountains. This is the third annual Builders Summit. I am here. This is the second podcast of the day. I actually have the creator of the Builders Summit. I have the Bible-thumping wingnut himself, Tim Hurd. Tim Hurd, welcome to the Godcast for the first time in 3 years or 3.5 years that I've been podcasting. I appreciate you hopping on and jumping on. And if you want to, really no introduction as far as who you are. Everybody knows who you are. But I guess I can just start off by saying, how do you think it's been going?
Good.
I knew this was going to happen. As far as you say, oh yeah, just one-word answers are gonna suffice.
See, I warned you about this.
At this juncture right now, it's about 10 p.m. in the evening, a little bit after 10 p.m. We just had a bonfire, of which all the men shared testimonies as far as how the Builder Summit's been going, and we're coming off of that, off of a high point. We've had a message on steadfastness from Michael Coughlin, and all of the speakers have been a blessing for sure. I can speak to that, but I guess if I could ask you to, not in one-word answers, describe what made you want to do this, other than the fact that we know we do know that you have had I guess, an inkling to want to reach out to men. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit, or introduce yourself too to my audience as well.
Well, I gave you a one-word answer because I wanted to find the Bible verse that I was going to reference. That's Philippians 1:8. And this is my attitude towards the men that are here and the people I try to minister to. So this is the driving idea is, as Paul says in Philippians 1:8, "For God is my witness how I yearn for you with all the affection of Jesus Christ. And it is my prayer that your love may abound more and more with knowledge and all discernment, so that you may approve what is excellent, and so be pure and blameless for the day of Christ, filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ, to the glory and praise of God." So that was Paul's prayer for the people that he ministered to, and I've adopted it, and wish I kind of read that every time I did a podcast, but that's my prayer for the people that I see face to face at a conference like this, and those that we talk to on podcasts and stuff. Just want them to grow in Christ, know Him better, and that's my prayer.
I could add to that, if to know Him better, but then I think what I've learned in my church that I've go to now is to add on to that is to say to make Him known too. I mean, part of I guess what I've encountered here is some that need discipleship and some that need that, for me to say it a nice way, the kick that they need to get jump started, perhaps to change their ways and repent and move forward in such a way that they're not looking back, but looking forward, and looking ahead. I guess what else that was on my mind about this is that where do you see this going as far as the future is concerned? As such as, yes, we're here in the Pocono Mountains. It's a great place to be. I don't second guess it for anything. It's awesome. But if this does outgrow the venue that we're at, which is the Pocono Bible Conference, Mountain Bible Conference, where do you see that going if more people were to come, let's say?
I
like
to keep it simple. And the way that I've been doing things for these first 3 years, I want to keep it the same. I really do. I think I might have told you that I'd like to cap it off at 80 people and just keep it at that. And with the facilities that we have now, we're learning that probably 55 is perfect.
Right.
We had 53 this year, which is more than double from our first year. And last year we had 45. This year we had 64 registered and paid, and we had we had what, 9? We had 9 back out because of COVID. So COVID, that's a pretty big number, actually, if you think about it. It's like, what percent? Like 8%?
Of attendees, yeah. I mean, that is a big number, but perhaps some of them are from the same group, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Or, yeah, knocked out pretty much a whole group from one church or some sort. So, it's interesting how you'd say you'd want to. Normally speaking, if we were looking at this in a I would think in a worldly way, which is not the right way. In a pragmatic way, you're thinking, oh, let's just grow. But I find it interesting that it's a good thing to cap it, because you want to be able to reach out and face to face with everybody that you see returning attendees, and perhaps see some improvements in a year that goes by, and the blessing of it to be able to speak to others in such a way that's in a loving way, but as such as building them up. So I think if you're capping it off, I mean, to me that sounds like a noble thing to do.
I mean, how many men's ministries have grown and grown and grown and then just imploded? A lot of them.
Yeah, that's true.
Keep it small, keep it simple. Get the speakers that you want, and just have a good time with fellowship and encouraging. Now, if the Lord blesses, yes, we would do one in Ohio. We've been asked to do one there, but I'm not ready yet.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you have an attendee that's coming from on the West Coast, so that speaks. That's a testimony to me that willing to go all across the coast to go and fellowship with the brothers. I mean, I think that's awesome. But Ohio doesn't seem to be a bad idea.
A lot of our speakers are from Ohio,
right?
And so they have contacts out there. They have asked for that. But this facility is going to be growing. They're going to be building.
Oh, is that so?
I didn't tell you that.
Yes, you did, but I didn't know the full scope of it. I thought you were really leading me on, honestly. Sometimes you say something and I'll go, what? And what was it that they were going to do?
The facility's planning on building a gym.
And if that's the case, if you think that doesn't work, you can just hold the mic if that's anything. I also have a mic stand.
Okay.
Technical difficulties.
So the facility here, the Pocono Mountain Bible Camp, is got plans to build a gymnasium along with 2 floors of hotel-like rooms.
Really?
And then it would be 3 floors on one side and a gym on the other side. And the first floor would be a snack shack and lobby.
Okay.
And then the top 2 levels would be hotel-type rooms.
Wow.
So that would make it so that we could have 80 comfortably, and even up to 100. And this is a great place. It's a great time of year. It works. It's before Thanksgiving.
Right.
And it's far enough before Thanksgiving. It's not going to interfere with Thanksgiving. There really aren't. Are there any other conferences in competition for this time frame?
I don't think so. I mean, there's others there are many small, like one-day conferences I've heard of in the past few weeks, but to name them, I couldn't name them to you. But no, you're right.
There's an airport 20, 30 minutes away, an international airport.
Wilkes-Barre.
Yep, the AVP. So we had a gentleman come from Oregon 2 years in a row. Had somebody register from Texas last year who didn't come, but
somebody from here is from Texas. I met.
this year,
Yeah.
yes, they came. A different person registered this year from Texas and came. So that's a drive.
I need to get the Hawaii people out here. Maybe or international. Somebody international, right? That would be so.
Go run a builder summit in Hawaii for a month.
Imagine going that far out. That would be something. But moving gears, I guess. What else would be the goal from this on here out? What would be if you were a speaker today, which you weren't, you were emceeing? What would be your desire to want to see from us to improve? I know we can be redundant in sounding it off the board. You want men to grow, obviously, but what do you see in the speakers and in those that have attended? Even maybe you met somebody that brand new that came out here that you were struck by, and I'm trying to rephrase this properly. maybe something you learned that you didn't expect you would learn today, or yesterday, the day before. I gave you all those questions all at once. I got to load you up. Figure what else can bounce off your head,
Well, in the immediate future, you asked about speakers.
Yeah.
And I've always, in the beginning, I'm like, the only people who are going to come are the people who are part of the network. I'll just ask the guys who are on the network to come. And that's who came the first year. And because they can't say no.
No, they definitely can't.
And then the second year, we added Michael Foster, who was outside of the network. And it was good to have him here last year. And then this year, we booked 2 speakers that were loosely associated still with Grace Community Church. And then Mike Abendroth was unable to come. To be honest, I asked Mike Abendroth the first year to come. And then I asked him the second year to come. In both years, he said no. And he said yes this year, but then he got COVID. So he's on the schedule for next year.
For sure.
So November 11, 12, and 13 next year, 2022. And we'll have him speak 3 or 4 times. We'll get our.
He has to make up some time.
Yeah.
Get to know him really well.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I mean, all the speakers are good, but I feel like Mike has a ministry specifically to men. I don't know. That's the way I've always taken his podcast. Being he's more of a dude.
More of a dude.
More of a dude.
More of a dude.
Guy.
Yeah, I think I don't know him personally. I don't know much about him other than what you've said in the last year and about him, and what he has his own podcast as well, his own ministry that he works with. Come to think of it, actually, the one that knows him a lot more than I do is actually my pastor. There is some type of backstory there, of which I wish I could have learned a little bit more about that, but that's another topic for another day. Let me ask you this. I know this is like a little left field question. How is Len Pettis doing? And I wish I could meet him. Is there any reason why, if you could speak for him, if you don't want to speak for him, or you maybe want to skip this question, you definitely can.
No, we did 7 episodes this summer. For those of you does your audience know who Len Pettis is?
No, but I haven't met him. That's why I figured I'd ask you what would prevent him from coming out this far to the Builder Summit. Perhaps he can offer some.
Michael Coughlin is the guy that needs to get Len Pettis here. He's in the room right now as we're recording this. But Len did podcasting with BTWN. He and I started the podcast. And actually doing podcasts was his idea. And we podcasted together till about 2 years ago. And we don't podcast too much. But I did go out to Wisconsin. We recorded 7 episodes, which are exclusively available on Patreon right now. But I'm going to make those public after I get them all uploaded. He's a great guy. He loves the Lord. He's a great communicator. He knows what he believes, and he's passionate about it. And I think he considered coming this year. But something got in the way. It's not that he doesn't like me or he doesn't like the Builders Summit.
I don't think so.
It's the time commitment and in the midst of family activities and
sure.
Hunting season, and maybe the idea of even flying this year was something he didn't want to try to do.
Well, if you can send him an invite from me, I would like to meet him because I haven't met him at all.
A lot of people here would like to meet him.
Yeah, he's
a lot. Ben Coy, all the way from Oregon. He's like, "Oh, Len's not here." No? Yeah. You know what? I'll never forget this. I'll tell you this story. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the first time Len and I did our podcast publicly was in Washington, D.C. at the Reason Rally. It was with Striving for Eternity, and Ray Comfort was there. We interviewed Ray Comfort on stage.
Okay.
On the Bible Thumping Window podcast. So that was pretty cool. But there was a crowd there. I don't know if Michael Coughlin was there or not.
Yep.
But there was a crowd there, and it was the first time Len and I had a crowd of listeners. And
You have an amplifier too, and
yeah, it was live in the room.
Oh, okay.
We were recording it. Everybody was very happy to meet Len. Everybody was, oh, there's Len Pettis, and he's like, oh wow, people are actually listening. That's when Len started taking the podcast seriously. That's the same day we met Adam Stopp.
wow.
Adam Stopp was there, and he's like, hey, we do podcasts too. And I'm like, yeah, well, sure you do. Sure you do. Yeah. Okay, Sparky, go back to your church. But that we love Adam.
All right, all in good faith. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the people were really glad to meet Len, and with me, they were like, "What's wrong with Tim? What is wrong with his like? He hasn't talked to anybody." Like, no, I don't actually, unless you turn the camera on or turn the microphone on. I'd rather be kind of quiet.
I'm the same way. I don't usually start talking unless someone gives me that nudge, and then there's something just happens. And one thing, shifting gears, I know I love Len Pettis. Don't know the man, but I want to meet him. But the shifting gears is actually you've given me the role to do those breakout sessions. I think the last couple of months, if not the whole year, has actually prepared me from my local church to when I came here to leading the singing and things like that, and having that back history. I just, in regards to that, I want to say thank you for allowing me to do that, because I didn't think it was in me to do that.
Don't thank me.
I thank the Lord, yes.
Thank the Lord, because providentially,
He provided a way.
yeah, he gave Adam Stopp COVID. You took over Adam Stopp's group.
Yeah, because instrumentally speaking, like I can play a few things, but I think the singing aspect is something that I never thought I would ever use. So yes, the Lord gets all the glory, of course. And
What you're talking about there, for your audience, I asked Josh to lead hymns this year at the Builder Summit. So it's been a great, but I've enjoyed it.
To have a whole room of men singing is nothing like it. I mean, if you've gone to large churches, or if you've been in a large setting, or even just a few of us singing would sound great too, just like we did at the fire. There's something about that just it's supposed to be worship to our King, of course, the Lord, but it's from what I've heard in past messages before, should be a touch of what heaven will be like. Eternity will be like, and that's the reason why, we worship Christ for what He's accomplished for us at the cross, our salvation, the blessings of salvation that we have. Ephesians comes to mind in that, and what we have, and I think the practicality in putting it all together would be to preserve the spirit of unity that we have here at the Builders Summit. So I think it's been a blessing and a privilege. Is there anything else you would like to add to my audience? Maybe, go ahead.
You need to come. This is our third year, and we handed out our surveys. I remember the first year, everybody said that they were going to come again, and everybody said that they would recommend it to somebody else. And same with the second year, it didn't come across that way, but nobody said, you know what, I didn't like this. I don't want to come again.
No, I didn't hear that myself.
Everybody, the overwhelming feedback is, I've never been to a conference like this. And we talked about it today. People say, this isn't like a men's conference. And I'm like, I think I said it. Did I say it to you?
Yeah. No.
Josh, I think the reason why this isn't like any other men's conference is because I've never been to a men's conference.
If you would name this a men's conference, this is probably the only one. And to go to another men's conference, what would that be like? A larger, let's say it's larger, you can get lost in a big number where there's no accountability. That's the biggest word I can gather from this whole thing is accountability. I would think. I mean, to maintain that accountability. If you didn't, you're going to say something. Go ahead.
What's neat is as I watch the interactions of people, and these two new individuals, they came from some other place. They're all by themselves, and there was a single person who came by himself, and they just connected, and they're talking the one person obviously needs encouragement, needs somebody to talk to, and these two individuals just really embraced him, and invested time lovingly, sharing phone numbers, sharing contact information, so that they can stay plugged into each other and encourage one another in the faith. And it's neat to see that. And I don't know, I guess it's the quality of men that come to the conference, that are drawn to the conference, because we didn't tell them to do that. But they went out and, it's not just the speakers, it's not just the facility, it's also the men that come that want to be ministered to, but they also look to be ministers to other people.
Right.
And that's what I try to communicate on the YouTube channel when I was inviting people. It's like, hey, I need you to come, and you need to be here. You need to be here so that we can encourage one another.
Right.
And that's kind of the way I promoted it on the YouTube channel this year.
I think just to draw this to a close, the one thing that I conveyed to the group that was given to me, the young, what you named the Robins, that's another story, but the blessing that I had from that is to actually convey to them, from what I gathered from this, is what do we do now with what we've learned? Do we just pack it into our heart and leave it there, or do we convey that to other men that need that building up? And it's already happening, I feel, in my local church. There's already an accountability stirring from the pastor to the elders to the deacon to just the regular laymen that are in the church that want to hold each other accountable. And recently a brother in the church just said to me before coming, and I wish he would have come, but he said to me, he's older than me, he's not several years, but he's up there, maybe around my pastor's age, and he said to me, specifically, hold me accountable, specifically. And I was like, I needed to hear that. Well, at the same time, I have to say back to him, you hold me accountable, to make sure that we're in lockstep with Christ, with what he would want us to do in the local church. And I that spoke volumes to me to say that his presence here would be a blessing. So that would be something that I would come up with as far as what do we do now,
Yep. Good stuff.
With that said, thank you, Tim, for hopping on for this.
I think we did all right.
Yeah.
Kind of slow start, but
Yeah. Thank you for hopping on, and I tried to convey what I need to convey. This will be cut out, by the way, but well, maybe, I don't know.
this is the way Len and I always did podcasts.
Just let it go, let it rip. Don't edit anything. I could just start it like that. That's what I can do.
Remember the way we used to do it is we would be tense with our notes and everything, and we'd do 30, 45 minutes, and then we'd be like, okay, all right, now we're done. But we'd keep recording.
Right.
And that was actually where the best content was.
Yeah, I have no notes in front of me. I'm just going off of what today was like, and I'm going off of yesterday, trying to remember all of those conversations. So really working off of that. I mean, I'm trying my best. I'm like 111 episodes in right now, or 112. I really don't know the number.
I want to thank everybody for listening to episode 112 of the Godcast with Josh Fritz. This is your host, Josh Fritz, coming to you from the Builders Summit 2021.
Thank you for joining me tonight.
You want
No, that's fine. We'll leave it in there. It works. I appreciate that. I appreciate you hopping on. We're in the room where it all really started, which is tremendous.
6 people that year.
Yeah. Packed into this small room.
Michael, were you here for that, the first year? You were here.
No, he was not.
26 people in here. All right. Yeah, you might want to end it.
Goodbye. God bless you guys. We'll see you next time.